Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Ipshita Bansal from BPS Women's University, Sonipat. Today we are going to talk on module Channels and Tools of Business Communication from the paper Business Communication. After completing this module, the students will be able to understand first the concepts related to channels of communication, second, learn about the different types of communication channels, and third, explain the various tools of effective communication. Communication is the bond holding the society together, enabling it to function. Through the process of communication, the members of the business organization exchange messages using a common system of symbols, which results, at least to some degree, in sharing the meaning of the message amongst them. Thus, communication has two important functions in a organization organization. First one is to enable people to exchange necessary information, and second one is to some extent setting members of the organization apart from non-members. Most organizations depend heavily on communication to accomplish their objectives. The approach to communication varies from one organization to another, depending upon their different requirements and characteristics. In a small business with only 5 or 6 employees, much information can be exchanged casually and directly. However, in large organizations with hundreds and thousands of employees scattered around the world, transmitting the right information to right people at right time is a real challenge. It requires a proper channel of communication. So, what are the communication channels? Different levels and stages through which communication passes in an organization is called a communication channel. This channel is formed as per the rules of the organization. The golden formula of communication can be expressed by the clause through proper channel. So, we can say communication channels means the path through which the information move within the organization. The communication can move upward, downward or horizontal in the organization. Such movement of information is called communication channel. In organizations, a manager becomes a source of message or information. The message may be decisions or instructions which can move upward, downward or horizontal in the communication process. For example, the expectations of top level managers will move downwards to lower level manager. This downward movement of information can be through email, interdepartmental memos or face-to-face conversation. There are various types of communication channels. First is formal communication channel and second is informal communication channel. Under formal communication channel, we have downward communication channel, upward communication channel and horizontal communication channel. We'll discuss about these in detail. Let's discuss formal communication channel. Formal communication is that communication which flows along a prescribed network. The members of an organization desirous of communicating with one another follow the formal communication channel. Formal communication flows through predetermined hierarchical network of positions and status. For example, a shop floor worker cannot speak directly to managing director. He will speak to his supervisor first, who in turn will talk to the manager and the manager will communicate to the managing director. The level in hierarchical system increase or decrease on the basis of nature and size of organization. A large organization will have more number of hierarchical levels, while a small organization will have lesser number of hierarchical levels. In every organization, there is formal communication channel based on clearly defined rights, duties, and responsibilities. The figure shows an example of formal communication channel of an organization, whereby the communication moves from president to managing director to manager to supervisor to worker. This is downward communication channel. If it has to be upward communication, then the communication will move from worker to supervisor to manager to managing director and president. In very rare cases, it may happen that the worker is directly communicating with the managing director or president. In formal communication, the communication flow in three ways. First, downward communication. In downward communication, the flow of information is from top to bottom. For example, when a manager transmits information to a subordinate, the communication is flowing downwards. The message might take the form of face-to-face conversation, office order, verbal instructions, or a formal interview between supervisor and individual employee. Or it might be discussed with the group through a meeting, workshop, or video. On other occasions, the message might be a written memo, a training manual, newsletter, or bulletin board. Upward communication is a network of communication where the flow of information is from bottom to top. In this communication network, information is sought by the top management from lower levels of management. From the organization's standpoint, upward communication is just as vital as downward communication. To solve problems and make rational decisions, management must learn what is going on in the organization. Because they cannot be everywhere at once, executives depend on lower level employees to furnish them with an accurate and timely report. Upward communication can take the form of suggestions to senior people, grievances or complaints, oral or written requests, various reports, etc. So, what is horizontal communication? In addition to transmitting messages up and down in the organization, the formal communication network also carries messages horizontally from one department to another department. For example, the R&D manager may write a request to marketing manager for the feedback received on the new product launched in the market recently, or the marketing director might write a memo to the production director outlining sales forecast for the coming period. If the structures and or functions of the department are such that there is a lot of interdependence between the departments, then the horizontal communication will be more in the organization. But if each department operates independently, official horizontal communication is minimal. In the picture, we can see the purple lines are depicting downward communication from president to marketing manager, from marketing manager to advertising supervisor, from supervisor to note takers. The yellow lines are depicting upward communication from sales staff to sales supervisor, from supervisor to operations manager. The red lines are depicting horizontal communications from accounting manager to marketing manager, from note takers to supervisor to copier supervisor, from sales staff to copiers. Let's now talk about informal communication channel. Along with the formal communication, there is another communication channel which is used in organization for communication purpose, which is informal communication network. Informal communication does not follow a predetermined set pattern but can constantly change and become highly complex, moving in all the possible directions simultaneously, linking all the members of the organization. That is why it is also called as grapevine. As people go about their work, they can have casual conversations with their friends in the office. They joke and discuss many things: their houses, their families, electricity problems, their kids, World Cup cricket tournament, movies, other people in the organizations, etc. Although many of these conversations deal with personal matter, business is often discussed as well. In fact, most of the information that travels along the informal communication network, as it is not planned or deliberately created channel of communication. Informal communication does not follow a formal organizational chart. It is completely based on the informal relations of the sender and the receiver of the communication. The matrix gives us an idea about the formal and informal communication in the internal as well as external context. In the first quadrant, which is the yellow quadrant, the communication is formal and is being done with the internal stakeholders. So here we see planned communications following the company's chain of command among people inside the organization. And this can take the form of email, memos, conference calls, reports, presentations, executive blogs, etc. In the green quadrant, we see there is formal communication with the external stakeholders. Here we see planned communications with people outside the organizations through letters, instant messages, reports, speeches, news releases, advertising, websites, executive blogs, etc. In the light blue quadrant, we see informal communication with internal stakeholders. And these are the casual communications among employees that do not follow the company's chain of command. And this can take the form of emails, instant messages, phone calls, face-to-face conversations, team blogs, just chatting up over the cup of coffee. In orange quadrant, we can see informal communication with external stakeholders. These are casual communications with outsiders, example suppliers, customers, investors, etc. And they can take the form of email, instant messages, phone calls, face-to-face conversations, customer support blogs, etc. So students, let's now discuss about communication tools. Communication tools, the medium or device through which the information is transmitted to the receiver in the organization. The proper selection of the communication tool is most important for effective business communication, because if the wrong tool is selected, then the information will lose its importance or effectiveness. The selection of tool depends upon the quality and quantity of audience. Quality of audience means the knowledge and intellectual power of receivers, and the quantity means the number of receivers of the communication. There are number of communication tools available in the organization which depend upon type of communication, whether it is oral or written. There are various types of communication tools which can be used for both oral communication and written communication. For oral communication, generally the communication tools are, but they are not limited to, broadcast media, face-to-face oral presentation, voice message system, mobile phones, video conferencing, etc. For written communication, the tools are, but again not limited to, memos, letters, electronic tools, emails, fax, reports, and many other tools. So, before understanding the tools of oral communication, let's revise what oral communication is. Oral communication is that form of communication in which message is transmitted in spoken form. The term oral means anything pertaining to the mouth. There are two components of oral communication, which are words used and the manner in which these words are used. In oral communication, the sender and the receiver exchange their ideas and thoughts through presentation, either in face-to-face conversation or through some mechanical or electronic device. The oral communication may have two levels. The first level of oral communication is speaking face to face. This form of communication rates highest because besides immediately exchange of words, we can see all the signs of body language through face to face communication. The second level of oral communication includes voicemail and telephoning or communicating through any other device. However, these are not always as completely effective as face-to-face communication because of the absence of body language, but they can do provide vocal hint and opportunity of immediate feedback. The sender can modify the message immediately if the receiver does not interpret the message properly. In spite of these, the oral communication is effective only when the receivers have the listening skill. If the receiver does not have the listening skill, then it does not matter how properly the message is encoded and how effectively the message is delivered to the receiver. The oral communication becomes ineffective if the receiver does not have the listening skills or capability. Majority of the communication problems in organizations arise due to poor listening. Broadcast media. Broadcast communication tools involve PowerPoint, radio, television, and loudspeakers. Such kind of communication tools should be used when the message is communicated to a large number of audience. For example, if the board of directors of company decides to extend the business on international level, the CEO of the company may do announcement for the same on international channel of media. For a message to be delivered effectively to a large number of people, it should be delivered using audio-visual broadcast media. Face-to-face oral presentation. In business organization, face-to-face oral presentation is one of the important tools of business communication. The personality, body language, speaking skills, and facial expressions play a crucial role in exchange of business communication effectively. If the information is complex and emotionally charged, face-to-face oral presentation is the best tool because ambiguity in effective exchange of information between the speaker and the receiver can be clarified easily. The sender can evaluate the communication while delivering the message by immediate feedback and modify it accordingly as per the understanding of receiver to make it more effective. For more effectiveness of the message, writing boards or PowerPoint presentations using computer and screens can be utilized. Mobile phones. The mobile phone can be used as a communication tool for delivering private and or urgent information in the organization. Mobile phones can also be used for communicating with more than one person at the same time through teleconferencing. Communication of information through the telephone or mobile is called telephonic communication. With mobile that fits in the palm of the hand, business people can now be reached for important calls as well as to conduct business from otherwise inaccessible places. It enables business people to make more productive use of their time. The mobile is used as a communication tool when the information is communicated to an individual or small group. It is the most effective tool of business communication because of interactive exchange and helps the receiver in interpreting the message through the sender's tone while delivering the message. Sometimes mobile communication may be used in place of face-to-face communication to save on the time and effort that would take in handling a face-to-face meeting. Voice message system. It is an electronic system to leave short messages for someone who is not immediately available. It is an ingenious combination of modern telephone equipment and computerized call management system. In this technique, a caller can leave messages and select from other services by listing and responding via touch phone. Sometimes, when the person you are calling is not available, you will be able to leave a voice message in an electronic voicemail. Not only this saves you time involved in calling back the person you are trying to reach, but it also allows you to leave more detailed message than you might have left with a secretary. However, you need to be prepared for this to be sure that your message is both complete and concise. Video conferencing, a technology that combines oral and video communication effectively, is video conferencing. Video conferencing is the best technique for meetings between groups who benefit by verbal and visual interaction. This technique uses computer-controlled digital video cameras which provide real sound and video images, so meetings can be held remotely without spending the time, expense of travel. In this technique, not only messages are transmitted, but two people can engage themselves in live conversation also. As a result, one can see the gesticulation, facial expression, emotions of the others as well. So students, before understanding about the tools of written communication, let's revise what written communication is. In modern organizations, written communication is considered as more crucial form of business communication. Written communication is that communication in which information is exchanged in the written and printed form. It is most formal form of all types of business communication. The scope of written communication has widened with the advancement of technology. It covers electronic means like email and fax also. The written form of business communication facilitates a business organization to keep a record of communication. As the oral communication requires the listening skill, written communication requires effective reading skill for achieving the goal of business communication. In today's modern world, business organizations have become more technologically advanced, which require effective reading skills for making the written communication effective. Such communication should be used when the information does not require direct interaction with the receiver. Written communication is more difficult than oral communication because of the absence of immediate feedback and the facial expressions and body language, which aid in understanding. The sender cannot modify the message if it is not understood by the receiver. So that in written communication, the information should be drafted as per the understanding level of the receiver. Also, the information should be drafted very carefully because it will become a record later on. In other words, such language and words should be used which can be easily understood by the receiver, also which can be kept as a record and preserved. The following tools may be used to deliver the written communication. One basic tool of written communication is Memo. Memo is primarily a written message exchanged by employees in conduct of their work. Thus, memos are those business documents that address other people in the same organization. Memo is a short form of memorandum. The term memorandum in English is derived from term memorare of Latin language, which means to tell. Memo is a small note which is sent by a superior officer or manager to his subordinate or staff to convey information of some subject. Letters are those business documents which are addressed to people outside a business organization. It also can be sent by computer via commercial electronic mail networks to the target audience, which is called an email. The appearance of a letter plays a significant role in communicating the message. Attractive presentation of the message receives more attention from the receiver. The appearance of letter is influenced by quality of paper used, printing of the letterhead, typing, etc. Reports are another means of written communication. Report can be described as a statement prepared to present facts relating to planning, coordinating, performance, and general state of work in an organization. The term report is used in various ways. Some define reports to include almost any presentation of information. Others consider reports to be comprising only the most formal presentation. Basically, it is an orderly and objective transmission of factual information for business purpose. It is thus a summary of managerial performance. Examples of common business reports include policies and procedures, status reports, minutes of meetings, financial reports, personal evaluations, press releases, etc. Electronic tools are also used for written communication. Electronic communication tools include email, social media platforms, internet and intranet. Such tools can be used for personal communication as well as group communication. When the communication is done through electronic tools, the message must be crafted carefully with clarity to make it more effective. It is one of the most important tools of business communication in present times because every kind of important information in business organization is being delivered through emails and intranet or internet. Email is the most common tool of written business communication. Email refers to message sent over computer and includes everything from casual notes to friends to multimedia presentations sent across the world. Through email message can be sent to a person without making direct contact or knowing where that person is located. Subscribers to electronic mail services are called users, and as a user, that person can access messages on their system from their home, office, hotel, standing on the street, etc. The picture symbolizes how the letter in the form of an email is being sent from one computer to another which may be received across the world in different locations. Fax is a simple electronic communication technology to send scanned messages to distances near and far. It uses telephone lines to send a copy of the document. It scans a printed page, converts it to signal, and transmits the signal over a telephone line to a receiving fax machine. Faxing is much like photocopying or printing, but the copy is delivered elsewhere by knowing the telephone number of the receiving fax in order to send the message, and someone on the receiving end needs to check the fax and deliver the message. It is a quick and less expensive system whereby a photocopy of the document can be sent to the desired person quickly. The figure explains how the fax machine works. The first machine scans the document and transmits its contents through telephone line to the second machine, which may be kept in same building or to a faraway location. The exact copy of the document, the contents of which were transmitted, comes out of the second fax machine. Some other examples of tools of written communication include information brochures, newsletters, bulletin board notices, newspaper flyers, etc. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. Communication is the most important function of every organization because every work is initiated only through communication. Without communication, no work can be completed in any organization. Right information must be sent to the right person so that work can be done within time, which is possible only through effective communication. For this, right channel of communication must be selected for communicating. Channels of communication can be formal or informal. Formal communication can be upward, downward, or horizontal. Informal communication generally take the form of grapevine. Tools for both oral and written communication are different and varied. In organizations, communication will be effective only when information moves through proper channel and appropriate tools are used for transmitting the information. Thank you.